Okay, so we want to do a little something different today. You know, part of apologetics are the lecture series that we give, and we do that for not only our youth groups but also for those who are seeking to answer the question: does even the Creator exist? Does God exist? Now, for most of us, that's something we have now dealt with in our lives and or have found out. But for many people who are searching, that is a fundamental question, okay? And the question of whether or not God exists has huge implications on your life. And it is a sort of absolutely critical question, okay? It is a question of the ages. It is a question of our meaning of life. It is a question of our place in the universe, right? These are all the main starting points of all philosophical inquiry. Okay? So there are very important, what we call cosmic questions that are essential for one's spiritual life and or our relationship with God in the end. There is an amazing series by Dr. Stephen Meyer and Focus on the Family, True You, series on this issue. Okay, now our lecture series that we do on this, our apologetic series, is based primarily off the work of William Lane Craig. When I watch this, it's also heavily, borrowing from that as well, but also adding new insights. The Dr. Meyer is a scientist, and he works for the Discovery Institute was it in Colorado or California? Out west. Is that California? Seattle? Is it Seattle? Okay. Absolutely fantastic series. Highly recommended, okay? If you guys have kids who are in their teens, middle school, high school, or you have kids in college, or young people, okay, who are serious about questions of life, they're really searching, and or they want logical, reasonable reasons for belief in God. They don't just want to, nobody just wants to believe it just because somebody said to believe it, right? These are things that one has to confirm with our faculties of logic, reason, intellect, emotion, will, all those faculties that God has bestowed upon us are tools by which we pursue Him. And this series is about a 10-part series from the beginning: faith and reason, Big Bang cosmology, etc. It's heavy on science because this man is a scientist. But the last parts of the video, 9 and 10, the moral necessity of theism and the moral necessity of theism. We're going to look at those today, okay? Because they are so well prepared and so well documented. But before we do that, now remember, this was an epic battle that we've seen. We're going to get our scriptures here. There's plenty of scripture there to center us today. But remember, folks, this is such an amazing epic battle that we encountered, because we have to understand that political movements have idyllic pictures of society in which they are trying to create. So it really does matter who is in power. It really does matter whose vision is on top. Does that make sense? It's not like the family fraud who say, the Han mother says that God is not with any politicians, and there's no difference between Hillary or Trump. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're insane if you think that. Totally insane. One, we saw the crux of their different metaphysical universes that they both exist in. One is, Hillary believes you can kill and murder living human children one day before the due date, which is murder. Right? So you can kill the most sinless, innocent citizen of a nation, call it women's rights, and you can murder. And that should be mainstream and should be okay. That is one civilization, one utopian sort of picture of the future. Will we be a civilization that respects the sanctity of life, that protects those who cannot defend themselves, that protects the innocent and sinless of amongst us, the most sinless amongst us, who are the unborn child? Will we acknowledge that they have human rights? And we'll acknowledge that they have the protection of those human rights as their natural divine given rights. You see, the difference in the picture of the future civilization based between Hillary and Trump. Trump called her out on it. This woman says, you know, he's brash and he's not perfect, but God uses imperfect people, just like he used King Cyrus to free the Jewish people. King Cyrus had a harem. He was a Persian king. Remember, we have to remember that the macrocosm that God uses is to protect the micro, folks. This is something we lose sight of when we're in the micro. We know that all the things that happen from the micro have influenced the macro, but also God will use the macro and the victories of the macro, which are connected to the micro, to again then protect the micro, and or let's say for the micro's sake, the microcosm's sake. So although Persia was not the perfect empire, and they had pagan worship and they had all sorts of crazy stuff, but God used King Cyrus. The Old Testament even calls him the Messiah. You know, they use the word Mashiach for King Cyrus because he's the one who comes in, destroys, kills all the top leaders in Babylon, drains the swamp, and he gets in there and wipes them all out. Takes over Babylon, destroys it, and frees the Jewish people, lets them go back home to Jerusalem, and actually builds a wall for them and protects them. He did not convert. He didn't become Jewish. He didn't become this or that, but God used him to free the people. He used him on the macro to bring about the micro. Eventually, the micro would overtake Babylon. Babylon would die away, and the civilization of Judeo-Christianity would continue and flourish and overtake the entire world. Okay? So it is the same type of relationship. We've seen on the micro all of the investment, all the things that from the young people to the old people here, or the young people to the little younger, older people. How the heck do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? All the things that we had to do to fight to make sure that Trump, even though he's not perfect, get in. And everybody thought we were crazy. Everybody thought we were insane. When we started saying Pennsylvania is the swing state, everybody said we are insane. We're conspiracy theorists. We're nuts, etc. Then what happened? You saw Pennsylvania was the swing state, and it is the state that won him the presidency and made him the president-elect. So just a tremendous, you can see the mirroring of the micro. You know, after breaking the silence, before that we were exposing 9/11. We brought Dr. Richard Gage here to present the evidence. Even our commissioner saw it. Pike County commissioner saw it too. And he totally flipped and changed his mind on the reality once he saw the evidence. And so many people are in this trance and this cognitive dissonance, and they do not want to pursue truth because it's so painful emotionally to understand, wow, these elected officials are this corrupt and this demonic. You don't want to believe it. You want to believe that they're out for your good interest. You want to believe that these people that you elect and these politicians are there to serve the public when they're really there to serve their pocket. Right? I don't got no back pockets on this. Okay? But, so it's so hard to understand. So people psychologically have this cognitive dissonance just to match this reality with this fake fantasy land that they've been told by the mainstream media, and they just want to believe it. Oh, I just want to believe that these politicians that I elect are there to serve me. They told me they would. They're nice people. I met them on the street, blah, blah, blah. So we've seen that whole battle. We've seen right after the breaking the silence come up, boom, on the micro, we had to stand up against untruth. We had to stand up against heresy. We had to stand up against, the fallen mother, the fallen Eve figure. We had to stand up against her. And everybody now knows that it was inevitable. It was impossible to be able to play both sides. You had to make a decision. If we stayed in the palace, we would have to betray Father. We would have to desecrate him. We would have to support a heresy. We would have to go along with this unbelievable a thing out of thin air, the only begotten daughter theology. Okay? Which any Christian person, there's stories from all over the U.S., all these pastors that are getting invited to family-fed events, they're just like, what the heck is this? The more the Han Mother speaks, the more her heretical theology comes out, unprincipled theology, her fallen theology, where she's trying to make herself God. We knew that at the time. Everybody thought we're crazy. Everybody calls us unfilial. Everybody calls us evil, and we're misogynist, and we're hateful, and we're everything under the sun. Okay, but we were sons that would not sell out our father. We were the Cain and Abel that Father anointed, who he trusted, because why? We wouldn't sell him out for billions of dollars. And that microcosmic victory then, of course, becomes the way for the macrocosmic. It's amazing because right after breaking silence, boom, Donald Trump comes out. He starts getting mocked. He starts to be called a misogynist, and he hates all the same stupid stuff. He's a conspiracy theory. He starts bringing out 9/11. He was able to defeat Jeb Bush because he started bringing out the 9/11 stuff. And you guys know, he was saying to basically to Bush, he's like, you guys know Saudi Arabia was involved in that? And they got freaked out, and Jeb Bush basically dropped out because of that reality. Right? So he was able to defeat them step by step. So you can see how the macro and micro moved. At the same time, as Trump gained momentum, nobody said, oh, he's going to be out of here. He'll never win. You saw that compilation that I showed one day where they said, he'll never win. This is a joke. It's a sideshow, blah, blah, blah. All the top analysts, right? All the mainstream media top analysts, right? All the people we're supposed to believe. These people unequivocally said Trump will lose. Why? Because they're paid by the same bankers and the same conglomerates that own those five, that own all the channels. 5 corporations own all the channels that you see on TV. So, what an unbelievable battle. At the same time, once Trump wins, then we can see a massive shift. There's now a shift that's happening. Because now the judgment is not falling on the people. The people have done their 5% responsibility. The people have stood up for God's side. The people have stood up for the unborn. The people have stood up for, human rights. The people have stood up for, prosperity. The people have stood up for nationalism and local control and state control and family control. Not globalist control, right? That's communism. Global centralized control. No. Trump was leading a movement which he calls Americanism. But really, what is that? It's state, local, families have control. Does that make sense? So that's what we call sovereignty. That's what, in terms of God's perspective, we call sovereignty. Or from Chanil Guk's perspective, we call sovereignty philosophy, sovereignty principle. And really, that battle was between that. Will the family, state, and local have control over their jurisdiction, over their area? Or will some unelected group of elites in different countries be regulating us from Brussels, from Russia, from wherever, Washington, D.C.? No. God's gift to humanity is sovereignty, freedom, responsibility. And so that battle behind the scenes was happening. So you'll see those two people representing those two ideologies, one global communism, one local family state, localized control, decentralized, localized control. One representing centralized, global control, right? And this is the real battle that was happening. Now, it's very fascinating. We touched on this last week. The difference between the two. You can see, for example, in the Hillary, she's just a puppet for the big conglomerates and the big bankers. We know that. And the Saudis, etc. Massive pedophilia, even in the Saudi Arabian family and the monarchy. He's married to girls that are very small in Islam, so to speak. And so we have these two camps. We have Hillary Clinton, and look at the things that they support. The murder of children, so children have no human rights. Relativism, they call it multiculturalism to make it sound better, but really it's basically moral relativism. Okay? She supports, what else? Open borders. That means no individual rights, no protection of individuals and or individual nations. No sovereignty. Okay? They support what? Centralized land ownership by increasing the green belt and, quote, green energy and, quote, environmental protection, all under the guise of the EPA, et cetera, to what? Increase control and ownership of government land. And this was the fight between the BLM, right, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Bundys out in California, in Nevada, and then recently, what was that? That big fight? Oregon. Okay? So the BLM has been shot with cameras, in private meetings, stating that we want to increase BLM's land ownership and we want to get rid of citizen land ownership as their stated federal aim. So you can see these kind of things. So no private property, right? Murdering of the innocent, right? Total control, right? Total control, federalized control, centralized control. No guns for the people. No ability for self-defense for the people. That only can be controlled by the state. right? What else? No property rights, etc. Centralized education, right? And education, of course, the top experts all say and have analyzed that centralized education dumbs people down. We invest more and more money into education, we get lower and lower international grades. Centralized education is not to educate, it's not to create critical thinkers. Centralized education is to create a status quo, which is easier to control in terms of mass psychology, okay? Control of the media. We saw how the media was totally in bed with Hillary. 100% of them were against Trump. Every single, quote, media outlet, NBC, CNN, all those fools were against Trump. You see that? They want to call him, oh, he's a white supremacist. Oh, even though he employs and works with, blacks, Hispanics, women, he's a misogynist. He's got the most women leadership in his organization. His daughter runs Trump International Empire, and last time we checked, she's a woman. I mean, the guy, they're just unbelievable. Just because they cannot win intellectual arguments and or debate, they resort to what? Name calling in order to try to, quote, win the debate in terms of social pressure. And in real debate, this is called ridiculum ad absurdum. It is using mockery and or making fun of your opponent to win the argument and not actually creating an argument. So this is what the left always has done. Now, one thing that's great about the alternative media is they come out with tremendous amount of logic. They come out with tremendous amount of evidence for their facts and for what they blame the left for. However, the alternative right, the right was always a little too passive because they were Christian-based. So they had Judeo-Christian morality, so they felt that we have to love our enemy, and we can't really, we shouldn't mock them. That's something low. We have to take the higher ground. And so let's just present the facts, let's present the evidence. And then people will make the right decision. But of course, that's not how mass psychology works. And so the globalists and the leftists and the communists understand the use of power of propaganda. And that's what you see that's different in the alternative right that has developed on the internet, like InfoWars, like Drudge, like who else? Breitbart. These people not only present evidence to attack the left and their criminal activity, but they also mock the hell out of them. They mock them like crazy. Because they realize that in the end, you have to not only stand up against evil, you have to detest evil. Not the person, but you have to detest evil as a force, as a literal power, as a satanic power. And you take away satanic power by mocking them and making fun of them, showing how their behavior is hypocritical to what they state. They state, we're tolerant and we're for peace. And they wage 6 wars. We're tolerant and we're for peace. You like Trump, you racist, you bigot, I'll beat you up now. You see what I'm saying? So it's a totally opposite of tolerance. It's a total opposite of peace, those who want peace. But, of course, they're stuck in this cult. They're literally stuck in a cult, and young people get sucked into that cult by social pressure from the public education on. And they get Marxist teachers early on. They get Marxist teachers in quote, higher education. They get Marxist teachers everywhere you go. You're 5 times more likely to meet a Marxist professor in college than in the regular population. You have, 600% more higher chance to be educated by a Marxist. It doesn't represent population. There's a concentration of communist ideology. And it's designed that way. It's designed. We understand that. The state control leads to state federalized power, centralized power leads to what? Control of human activity. Leads to what? Control of human beings. Leads to what? Control of money supply, human farming, human tax farming. All these things are a product, are embedded with, and are a byproduct of the collusion between big conglomerates, international, chaebols, and government, big governments. And we know that leads to hell on earth. We know that leads to the minimization of freedom. We know that leads to the destruction of human rights. We know that leads to the destruction of real education and critical thinking and innovation and technology, etc. So this was a massive battle. It was a massive battle from the spiritual to the physical. And this has been the problem of Christianity. They have been so intimidated by the different laws and the nonprofit tax exempt status laws And they've been told you should not talk about these things on the pulpit, lest you be audited by the IRS and they come after you, etc. But that has been the problem. That's been the problem. And so Christianity as well has become hijacked, and Christianity as well has been basically teaching the same globalist message. The same, quote, liberation theology message. The same pro-communist centralized education message. Okay, help me with that, babe. Thank you. It's getting hot. And that has been the reality up till now. And it was a massive fight. The tension was building. The boiling point was coming. And the conflict had to happen. Now, we know we're praying for Donald Trump, his family, and all his administrative people. He's not picking perfect people, but he's picking people way better than we had before. At the same time, it is important that we understand the foolishness of how the communist, the centralist, the globalist manipulate people. How they tell them one thing and do another. And this is critical for people to understand. And especially for young people who are drawn into this cult from a very young age by professors and teachers and people in authority. They basically become little cultists, and they cannot believe the fact if you even present evidence, they're like, no, you're racist. How can you say that? You're racist. With no evidence. He hates Mexican people. He wants to ship African people back, black people back to Africa. What the heck are you talking about? What? You see what I'm saying? It's totally in propaganda. They're in cult land. Literally, they're in a cult. Oh, yes, Hillary, yes. What did you say about Donald Trump? Yes. Oh, yes. You know, it's literally cult land. So people, especially young people on the left, young people who are not critically thinking, and they just go about their business and they follow the whole system and they just go and do their little debt slavery system and be put in debt slavery and all those kind of things. Get their little education, but they never can find a real job after that and all that kind of thing. And by the time they're old enough to realize that they've been screwed to the wall, they've already been screwed to the wall. So you have this whole scenario where literally people in America were asleep. They were in a cult. They were in a trance. They could not believe that it is possible that the Democratic Party, for example, founded the KKK or was working with the KKK. The Republican Party was against them. And I'm not saying the Republicans are perfect. Father chastised the Bush. He called them Bushes, the king of Satan's world. Father said the Bushes should not go to Iraq, the Iraqi war after 9/11. Otherwise, America is going to be destroyed. So 50% of those Republicans who keep sending us into useless, crazy wars, they need to be put in prison. That's 100% true. He's got to lock her up, and he's got to lock those fools up too. And he's got to get rid of the different departments that are there to just suck up taxpayer farming and tax farming. It is so incredibly important for people to understand how unbelievably hypocritical it is. And that one thing I like about the video, the one, not because, was my daughter in there? My daughter wasn't there, but I didn't even see the video until now. But the idea of exposing evil, exposing it, not being afraid to expose it, and show the hypocrisy of the communists, show the hypocrisy of the centralists, show the hypocrisy of the globalists, show the hypocrisy. They claim to be tolerant, but they'll stomp on you, they'll beat you up, they'll maul you just because you voted for Trump. That seems really tolerant. So tolerant. Yes, you know. It's just, all it is moral posturing. That's what it's called in psychology, moral posturing. Pretending to be good when you're actually evil. Pretending that you care for the poor when you never donate to charity. And that, on the left, statistics show people on the left do not donate to charity compared to those on the right, because they don't have Judeo-Christian framework. They actually don't do charity. They have fronts of doing charity, but they're stealing government money, stealing from people, other people's money to use and pretend it's charity. That's stealing. That's not charity. Charity is where you do something, you built your own thing, and you made your own money, you sweated for it, and then you give that hard-earned thing away. It's not stealing from people, using power of the state and the power of the state's guns to force people to pay into something which you can use and then call yourself good for doing. That's called moral posturing. And the left is notorious for that. However, because the system is so unbelievably systematized, and the public school system indoctrinates them into what? Communist ideals, socialist ideals, liberation theology type ideals. Stefan Molyneux, who is an atheist, but he is also a libertarian, and he's also a freedom philosopher and a great freedom warrior. And he is also deeply considering the nature of God and whether or not God exists. He's having a very nice crisis in his life now, which is very good. But he says very clearly, you can't expect to hire Coca-Cola to be in charge of the Department of Education and then educate the young children on how Coca-Cola is bad for them. And how Coca-Cola is unhealthy for your liver, and it's unhealthy for your heart, and it's bad for cholesterol, and it's got aspartame in it, which causes cancer. Okay, you're not going to have, if you hire Coca-Cola to run the Department of Education, would you expect Coca-Cola to give you the facts on Diet Coke and Coca-Cola? Of course not. Of course not. So you cannot expect a centralized government to be in charge of education trying to talk about the dangers of centralized government. Does that make sense? That's why they won't teach you the real Thanksgiving story, right? That when they tried communism for the first 2 years, 1661 in America, Jamestown, Plymouth Rock, they failed. Everybody was poor. They were dying. 90% died in Jamestown because they were trying to do communism. They were trying to, everybody had to collect grain in a centralized location, then we'll share it. The politician would share it. That's communism. And everybody was poor, and there was no harvest. There was no Thanksgiving. Everybody was dying. They don't want you to read the actual general's papers in 1661. They just want you to believe the government's line that, no, the centralized government made Thanksgiving. The centralized government made the prosperity. The centralized government made the the turkeys, and we were peaceful with the Indians and the pilgrims and all that. That was because they did centralized planning. What total bullshmita. 2 years of that, you read the governor's papers in Plymouth, it's utter famine. Now they start changing private property. They allow everybody to have 1 acre. Each family get to have an acre. You can produce what you want and sell what you want. Now there's all of a sudden prosperity. Once the government gets out of the way, lets people have land ownership, lets people take sovereignty, lets people produce, whoa, now everybody has harvest. Now they have more than enough. Now they're not dying in famine. Now they're selling and making money. They're getting rich. They're getting prosperous. Woo, isn't that interesting? Why don't you learn about that in your Coca-Cola public school? I wonder why. They ain't going to tell you about how bad Coca-Cola is for you because they're dang Coca-Cola company. You see what I'm saying? This is the problem, and this is the problem with why the young people are so brain dead nowadays. Now, the young people here they're awake. But normal young kids are so brain dead nowadays, they're literally living in a cult. So this is one of the great things about people on the internet who use comedy, who use mocking to show the utter hypocrisy of what these fools are saying. And it's laughable that you cannot see how ridiculous it is when they say it, and the young idiots just go, oh, yes, okay, we'll follow along. Because Master Priestess Hillary said so. Yes, hail Hillary. It's a cult. It's a total cult. So there's this one person that's been trending in the Liberty side, and he's a DJ in a club or something like that. He's a DJ. But the guy is very talented. He knows how to mix music, mix video. And he produced something which is absolutely hilarious. Okay, so I want to do a little different today, not get it and show you this video. Let's see that video real quick of Hillary is back. Let's see this. Okay, but they were trying to use the trope of she's a woman, you have to vote for her, and if you don't vote, you hate all women. No, we hate criminal women and men. We hate people who take millions of dollars from known pedophiles like the Saudi Arabians, the monarchy, and those who talk about women's rights. In Saudi Arabia, you can't even drive a car, ladies. And she's taking money from that. And they want to put you into hijabs and the burqas. That is part of the law in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so we don't like criminals. We don't like people who who do crimes and break the law and murder people, the death trail behind the Clintons. You see, this is what we don't like. We care less whether or not you have penis or vagina and you're running for election. We care what you're surrendering to. Are you surrendering to the big globalist power, the what is it, the centralist banks? Are you trying to get in there for your own political benefit? Or are you there humbling yourselves to God? Are you there humbling yourselves to the Creator, going to respect natural rights, going to respect human rights, going to respect divine rights that are inalienable, and are you going to defend that? See, that's what we care about. Are you going to be for centralist governmental, archangelic, satanic power, or are you going to be for localized family, citizen kingship? Does that make sense? So, for example, like in France, Marine Le Pen, she's going to be the next Donald Trump of France, right, Pierre, right? She's going to be the next, she's our girl in France. May 7th, see? And guess what? She's a woman. Oh, who cares? If the person is surrendered to God, stands on the side of sovereignty, stands on the side of inalienable rights, stands on the side of divine rights, stands on the side of natural rights, they are on the able side. They are guarding the gifts that God has given humanity. The reason why Christians came out en masse to vote against this demon is not only because after Answer's liberation ceremony, remember how that all that Satanist connection and John to Podesta and the Pizzagate, all that crap started coming out. Remember this? All that stuff started coming out about her. And how her Satanist connections and the people she hangs around with, the spirit cooking, the sperm drinking, and the blood drinking. Remember all this stuff that in the Podesta emails? Now Julian Assange is gone. We don't even know where he is. And of course, we know they want to kill him. Pray for Julian Assange. These kind of people who are not perfect. They're not perfect people. They're not little saints that are floating around. And they're not. No, only the Messiah is perfect, folks. But God will use imperfect people to bring about a perfect will and His perfect aim. What's great about the new alternative media, which CNN, all the mainstream, ridiculous, stupid, fake news medias are trying to label the alternative right as being white supremacists. They're the alt-right. And of course, there are some fringe crazies in there, some racist Ku Klux Klan people in there. But the Ku Klux Klan some of their top head, quote, dragons were FBI agents. It was a Democratic Party that was using them. They're known agents. So they try to lambast everybody who thinks differently from the left, does not want communist control, who wants to protect sovereignty, as alt-right, white supremacist. And they come out and say, oh, Donald Trump's victory is because of white anger. No, it's because anger against corruption, you dummies. We're sick and tired of being raped. We're sick and tired of being, exploited. We're sick and tired of being farmed by the big banks and the big corporations, the big Rothschilds and the Goldman Sachs and all the big conglomerates. We're sick and tired of having jobs shipped out of the countries to make us poor and deindustrialize us to make us poor so they can be easy to control. Poverty is a very powerful tool of population control. Henry Kissinger wrote about it. All these, Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote about it. Carol Quigley wrote about it. All these crazy, quote, intellectuals, these total demonic fools have written about this stuff. Making people poor is a great way of controlling the population, because then you have a super class of elites, and the people will do whatever you want if you throw a little crumbs. And this is what the communists want. That's why in any communist country, it always becomes the super elite who throw the little breadcrumbs, and everybody else is a slave. This is the unfortunate reality about what's happening on the micro to macro, because the blessing was supposed to go to the Pacific Rim. Asia was supposed to have that renaissance as well, with what Father was doing there. But because of the fall of the Han Mother, we saw all that foundation lost. The Korean revolutions that are happening in South Korea now, impeach the president, blah, 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 all those kind of things, are not moving in the direction of the Abel-type revolutions. They're moving in the direction of the Cain-type revolutions, of the communist revolutions. They want to get rid of her because the commies want to bring communism now into South Korea. And you see in Korea, now you see the left getting stronger and stronger. Okay? So this is the difference between Abel and Cain-type revolutions. Trump, on the other hand, is right in that at that opportune time where God put out his hand to stand up and save his kingship, save his people, save the prepared peoples of God. In the beginning, they said Trump would never be able to succeed, do anything. He's not even in the office, Oval Office yet. But already he's evoking so many things. He's already starting to make so many victories that now they are forced to cover. Let's see the second one. What's happened this week? Look at this, what happened this week. Let's see the second one. So huge corporations, Ford is going to come back, Apple is coming back, and also Carrier, huge air conditioning company, saves 1,000 jobs in Indianapolis. And of course, you see the globalists. You see Obama and all the puppets there saying, "How's he going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to turn the marijuana and do what? What are we going to do?" He's going to negotiate a fair deal. And he's gonna give corporate tax cuts so that the companies want to stay in. It's brainless. You don't have to be a brain scientist to understand that. And guess what's happening? He did the deal. Last week's not even in the Oval Office. He did the deal. And Carrier is going to stay, and 1,000 American jobs were saved. And did you see MSNBC? Did you see those salad, these they're just so unbelievable. You see how, they had to report on it. They have to report on it. But did you see their faces? They're just like, they're like, biting their tongue. Just, 1,000 jobs were apparently saved. They don't care about the people. All they care is centralized control. All they care is they become the super elites and make everybody else poor so they can control. Look, folks, it happens in every freaking communist state. The elites want it. They are Satanists at the top. They are Satanists. They are driven by a cosmic power of evil. They are driven by an unseen hand of evil, which drives them to be predatory in nature and prey on weak people and prey on civilization and to parasite off of things. They are evil. And as the WikiLeaks shown, they are also Satanists as well, that do the child killings and the eating of children. You've seen the BBC interviews, okay? So they, of course, have promised that Trump will never be able to get things done. He's getting things done. Not because he's some genius, not because he's... The guy is clear. He's in line with reality. He doesn't live in the centralized world. He's out there competing in the marketplace. He's out there making money. He's out there working in reality. And so he knows how to make money. He knows how to make deals that will, quote, save jobs. Okay? And that's not saying we should make Trump into the Messiah or something like that, but he is definitely on God's side. Does that make sense? He's on God's side, working at the macro. Okay? It is such an intense time to be alive because you can see the open deception, you can see the open stealing, you can see the open criminality, you can see the open stealing the vote from Bernie in the DNC, stealing the vote, trying to steal the vote from Trump in the RNC. I mean, just open, unabashed criminality, okay, by these centralized parties. You can see the open criminality of the media, totally just lying to people, totally lying to people. Not one mainstream media outlet said Trump would win. Not one. They were so confident, even Fox News, so confident that he would get crushed. See, that's the arrogance of the elite. They, how do you say in Korea, it's called mushi. They underestimate. They're so arrogant that they underestimate the normal, good person. They underestimate the sheepdog. They're predators. They're wolves. So they're like, they're the wolves. They got the wolf pack, ready to go in and kill the sheep. Then they see some of those sheepdog, and the sheepdog look like Lassie. They say, that fool's going to be weak. I'll whoop Lassie. Oh, he's a little shutting sheepdog. He's like, look how cute that boy is. We're going to kill him. Come on, wolves, let's go in. They underestimate them. But the sheepdog can scare away bear. Those little sheepdog can scare away lions. You see, when good people who stand on God's side start standing up, that is the greatest fear of the predators. The greatest fear. because there's great power, because they don't have the moral high ground. They get to power by immoral activity. They get to power by cheating, lying, deceiving, and controlling. They get through power by evil. So when they have to face good, who is strong, good, who will shoot back, good, who will take them down, even though those good folks seem normal and they're not, in their minds, not comparable to all their state, federalized power, the normal person, when they become unleashed and stand on God's side, can do massive things. And this is what the Satanists do not want people to believe. They want to believe that you have to do these occult rituals to gain power. You have to go and unlock the cosmic consciousnesses, and you have to be able to transcend good and evil and reach the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhis, and you have to gain all the secret special knowledge and all. Yes, those psychological analysis and secret knowledge and those kind of things help you understand how the mind works. But you can also use that to manipulate people for evil. You can see that with a lot of the psychologists, psychiatrists who use that to just enrich the pharmaceutical companies. They don't care about real pathways for getting you off depression, which is shown. Harvard, positive psychology, top class at Harvard, showed that 3 times a week of exercise will get rid of depression more readily than Prozac, Zoloft, any of those stupid antidepressants, which have all sorts of things like side effects, like suicidal tendencies, homicidal tendencies, all these kind of things. 3 times a day, just work out. Burn that, sweat, move that body, sweat. Get that cortisol out, get that stress hormone out. Just move that body. You're going to feel better. Okay, not in all cases, but in the majority of cases. There's tons of body of knowledge that's coming out, proving that this whole racket, this medical, quote, professional, psychiatric system is a total farce. It's there to control people. It's there to say, oh, you don't abide by government rules or federal regulations. Well, you can't get medication. Oh, we want Obamacare. We want centralized health care. Yeah, because if you don't obey the state, they can take your health care away. That's what they want. They don't want healthcare cheap for people. They don't want many healthcare companies competing, so the price drives the price down, and the normal person can have a huge selection at very low prices, like smartphones. Does that make sense? Yes. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to understand the real dynamics of reality. They want you to understand their cultish world, where everything comes from them because they are gods which you must worship. Your professors are gods. Your teachers in the public school are gods. You must worship them. Your stars that we parade naked in front of you in bikinis, they're gods. Listen to them. You see what I mean? And people are so mesmerized and brainwashed from the lowest to the highest levels of, quote, education, that the people that cycle through there literally come out like 95% communist. Their political worldview is like 95% of the students that come out of college are freaking Marxist. Great job in critical thinking. It's only failed every single time in history, and it's only killed millions, hundreds of millions of people, you dummies. You're just brain dead. You're dumb and brain dead. You're dumbed down and brain dead. You're a victim. So we feel compassion for you. But you have to face the truth. You see? This is what's so wonderful about Trump. He's not caring about what the quote traditions of the president are. He's not even telling the mainstream media where he's going to go. Well, that's fantastic. Why does he have to report to them? They are known deceivers and known liars. They are known agents of deception. They are known federal agents of deception. Why does he have to report to them? He doesn't. He shouldn't. He shouldn't call them and, oh, I'm having an interview with Prime Minister Abe. CNN, I want you in. Don't even tell them. Have your daughter shoot the video and have her put it up on her Twitter and let her Twitter blow up. Don't give that to the stupid mainstream media that are known deceivers and known liars. This is what is necessary. It is necessary for a strong Adamic figure to say, screw you to the wall. No more raping us. You want to rape us? You're going to get a fight. We're going to kill you if you try to kill us. We don't care about your political careers. You can't guilt shame us anymore. We don't care about your moral posturing. We are good people, and we now can discern good and evil, and we can see your evil, you predator, and we'll chase you out. This is what they need. This is what critically the world needed. You can see this exactly from the micro to the macro. Every single one of those fools thought we would buckle to the multi-billion-dollar empire. Because they thought we got to power like them. They thought Father anointed me and Kuk Jung because we deceived and we used deception and tried to politically line ride. Just like them. You see the difference? You see that? So they thought because they would, hey, you give them $2 billion, $3 billion, they say, do what you want. You say, whatever you want, I'm going to do. But we said, no, you fools, we're not cut of the same cloth. We don't do this for money. We don't do this for a position of power. We do this to glorify our Father. That's why we work here. That's why we work for Him. And that's what He acknowledged. And so when they stole the whole empire and they thought that they could use it to enrich themselves, and for a time they could, now they can. Now they can. Major people are now waking up. Major people are now starting to come forward. Still scared. Some of them still very scared. And I will not cover. I told them this week, I will not continue to cover for you. You have to now come out. So now the time is ticking for them. They know who they are. You people know who you are. They know they betrayed true Father. They know they went for the money. They know they went for the pensions and the apartments and the cash. But they know they're sinners. They recognize that they were wrong. They recognize what we said, even though they mocked us, even though they called us crazy, even though they called us unfilial, and they called us all sorts of names and curses. They realized what Cain and Abel were saying were right. And they realized that Father's successor was not lying to them. And so they will have to come out soon. I will not continue to cover for them. There's no reason for me to do so. They have to put out their neck. They have to stand up. They have to make the decision to get mocked and persecuted and give glory to God for that they are. That they can come back into His home. And that they are not separated from Him for eternity. They will have to stand up and come out. I'm giving them just a little more time. And I told them this week, if you do not come out soon, I'm going to tell. I'm going to say. They know it's coming. It's coming. So many things on the micro to macro that are connected, folks. When we are in this kind of cosmic battle, the stakes are so high. What you can lose is so great. And this is what I think for the first time the American people saw. They saw that the Constitution can be taken over by communists, can be taken over by conglomerates. We pushed the globalists back maybe 50 years, 100 years, yes, but it can be taken over. And so we know, and Father talked about that the Constitution was brought to America. American Constitution was an able-type revolution. It was where the good and evil at the top split into good and evil side, the Britain being the evil side, the Founding Fathers being the God side, and they were able to create sovereignty. But because Jesus has not returned, and because Jesus did not create the kingdom on earth, it was the closest it could be to the kingdom that man could make. It was the closest thing we could get to the kingdom. The difference is when the kingdom comes, that kingdom cannot perish. Amen. It cannot be taken over by communists. You see? Big difference between the growth stage perfection level and the perfection level. The difference is at the perfection level, you can't fall. Huge difference. Huge difference. growth stage, perfection level, you can still fall. You can still fall right before you hit perfection level. Does that make sense? And this is what all Americans saw this time. They saw it on the line. They saw it on the razor's edge. They saw it between life and death, whatever you want to call it. They saw this republic almost died. And we almost had World War III with Hillary. World War III. She was poking that Russian bear like, come on, hurry up, set the war off so I can get rich. Come on, set the war off so I can get rich. Come on. These corrupt criminals. It is such an unbelievable, epic time to see these things move and to see these realities unfold before our eyes. That's why those who are awake must be vigilant. Stay with the Lord at the Garden of Gethsemane when he said, stay awake. It is a key to stay awake. Once we get into the trance and once we get into the, we've won and, now we can get back to my romantic dramas and video games and, let's relax a little bit. And, let's not look at evil anymore. Evil's so disturbing to look at. You go into culty land, la la land, happy, happy land. That's where Satan wants you to live. He doesn't want you to see his predatory nature. He doesn't want to see that even though you pushed him out of the farm, that wolf is still coming around at night to see which hole he can get into. He's still circling that fence line. And all of a sudden, it's like, we got rid of the wolf. Yay, we got him away. Ha, 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 you wolf, baby. We got you, bang, bang. And then everybody gets drunk and everybody's partying. And the next morning you wake up, all your sheep are dead. All your chickens got eaten. You see that? It's important to remain vigilant. Remember, folks, the world there are bad things that happen in the world. There are evil things that happen in the world, not because of evil. That's not the root of why evil is in the world. Did you know that? There's all this bad stuff that happens in the world, all this genocide and, pedophilia and all these kind of things that happen in the real world, they're not happening because of evil. They're happening because good people do not stand and fight the evil. Get rid of it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the evil will always exist in some level because there's free will. When you're free will, you can choose evil. The possibility is always present. But that is what's so important for the people of God, is understanding that the choice is also within us. Will we passively accept the totalitarian tiptoe? Will we passively accept the slow, gradual process of communization and global communization? Or will we recognize it, see the danger, see the mass army of wolves that are encroaching slowly on our land, closing in on those sheep, and say, holy Shemitah, we're not going to get the guns out, get these wolves away. Do you see what I mean? To remain vigilant is so unbelievably important. Let's look at the next video. This is Donald Trump's victory tour, folks. He's doing a victory tour. Wow, unprecedented. He's doing a victory tour. He's going around thanking all the people who supported him. When did a president do this last time? Was this never done? He's going around thanking the American people. Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Chinese. When we went to the Trump rally here, you see that whole Chinese group? They had things in Chinese that say, Donald Trump, you see that? Because they fled China so that they can get prosperity here. They don't want China to come here. They don't want the same system. They left that hellhole to get here. They're like, screw that. No, you stay there. Don't bring China here. Don't bring Chinese system here. The Chinese people. Yet CNN, all the mainstream media, never cover that there are Asians there. There are black people there. Right? They'll never cover this. White anger and white supremacy. It's a rock concert when you go to the Trump events. Lock her up. Drain the swamp. What is the other one? CNN sucks. It is an open a revolution against the establishment. It's unbelievable. It's epic. It's totally epic. There's never been a time in American history this unbelievable without the use of arms to actually fight a physical war. This was really an unconventional warfare. This was literally a war that had happened, and we were part of it if you were a part of that epic battle. NBC, the discredited misinformation agents of the Communist Party, NBC is forced to play these highlights. They are urinating in their pants as they have to see this. They are vomiting in their gut while they have to see this. They are gnawing and gnashing their molars when they have to see this. They are rolling their eyes and trying to be professional. But it's unbelievable that Trump comes out and look what he talks about. Look what he talks about. They cut out a lot of stuff, but they actually had to cover some of the stuff. He says, look, we will not be under globalist. There's no global anthem. There's no global currency. He knows these are all tools for centralized control. We are for Americanism. But what does that really mean? What does Americanism mean? It doesn't mean the self-centered Americanism. That's what Father always talked about. We have to get back to the family, local, state power. Yes. That was the whole tribal messiahship movement. That was the whole family federation movement. It was supposed to be that. Not become dang communist. Not telling their people to go vote for Hillary, the warmonger criminal who wants to start nuclear thermal war with Russia. Are you crazy? Get my kids killed? And while your kids are eating filet mignon? Give me a break. Give me a break. Trump goes out there, he's talking about, when he's talking about Americanism, he's not just talking about, oh, let's just be narcissistic and be prosperous. That's not, God didn't use the Jewish people when King Cyrus came in for that. He used the Jewish people, his chosen people, to then spread the word. Preparation for the Messiah. Preparation for the kingdom to come. And the same will be the challenge for American Christianity. The population here. Will they fall into a type of narcissistic Americanism? Or will they encourage, like the real patriots that really fought, like Alex Jones, InfoWars, Drudge, Julian Assange, these Nigel Farage, David Icke. Will they be like these people who are they're not only fighting for a country, you see, they're fighting for the principle, the divine right of freedom and responsibility. They're fighting for the God-given right of sovereignty. Do you see how that's beyond one nation or one border? See, they're fighting a cosmic fight. And this is what's really important. This spiritual perspective is key for us to continue to have God's blessing upon this country and, hopefully for the rest of the world. Yes. We want the world to move into sovereignty. We want the revolution of the punishing now of the archangel, the governments, the archangels, those who are to be the servants but become the master, just like Lucifer. The government, the archangels, we want the archangels to be punished worldwide. And that revolution is happening. It's happening with Brexit. It's happening with the Trump revolution. It's happening with Austria now. It's happening now in France. It's happening now in Switzerland. Swexit is coming. Sweden's exit is coming. There's pulling out of the communist system, the satanic, archangelic, political Satanism. That's what it is. What it is at its root is political Satanism, folks. The battle, again, becomes, when we talk about global control, global federalized power, this is all archangelic. It's political, it's manifested Satanism in a political system. Look at all the principles they go for. Kill the innocent. Take away human rights. Take away property rights. Take away sovereignty. Take away right for self-defense. Take away every education, the ability to educate your children. Take away everything. Use everything for control. Who inspires this? Does God inspire this? Or does Satan inspire this? You see? And Father said the final epic battle will be between what? Godism and Satanism. This is what it is, folks. Sovereignty versus domination. So those who stand for, will America become narcissistic in victory? Which is the fall of champions. We all know that. We've seen tons of champions in different sports fall. Or will they come back to push the message, literally, of Godism, sovereignty for all humanity? I'm not saying they should go start new wars and make the Republicans, those warmongers, and the Democrats more rich. No, they don't have to do that. But will their rhetoric, will their spiritual desire, impetus, and will they desire to see the world experience sovereignty? Do you see what I mean? Will they desire the world to be empowered to have local and state and family control? Will they empower the world? Will they encourage nations to, yes, punish your archangels, get the centralists out of there, bring back human freedom? That doesn't mean we go start wars for them, for their nations. Nations got to be responsible too and fight wars that they have to fight. But what kind of message, what kind of spiritual message, high ground, will we be showing? You see how critical that is after becoming the champion? So critical. And in the end, it is Godism versus Satanism. All right, let's play this victory tour. Let's get some victory. Mainstream media, then he attacks the media, which is great. NBC had to broadcast this. And they were literally, chewing on, their back molars and they're seeing this, We thank NBC and CBS and MSNBC. Thank you so much for discrediting yourself and showing that you're total prostitutes. Thank you. You've done such a good job. Everybody now knows you're totally discredited and nobody watches you anymore. The numbers of NBC, CNN, they're totally collapsed. They're literally in an echo chamber talking to themselves all day long. The little five viewer chambers the five viewers that watch their little programs. They're so stupid. This is how disconnected they are with reality. They're actually trying to, who knows Mark Dice? He's on the Freedom Movement too. And he's a guy that does a lot of, he goes around interviewing people on in San Jose or whatever. And he interviews the young people and says, oh, should we Hillary wants to allow Sharia law to come to the United States. Do you support that? Oh, yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if Hillary wants it, I do. You see this? You see these videos? I've seen this video, right? Nobody even asks, what is Sharia law? What do you mean by Sharia law? They just say, oh, okay, yeah, part of the cult, So Mark Dice, the SOCOM, the security, what is it? One of the Secret Service Security Federalized Bureaus contacted him and said, oh, we would love to study you and follow you around for a couple of days and to see why you have such a vast audience on the internet, because we would like to use that information to help with our projects. And he said, no. They want to study you, and they want to study psychology to understand, human behavior, to see why the internet people, on the internet are so much more powerful than the mainstream media, because they want to use that technique in the mainstream media. Well, they can't. It's called telling the truth. If you are openly a propagandist, if you're openly doing the work and bidding of the conglomerates, if you're openly doing the bidding of communists that are paid by the state, people are not going to watch you because they know you're a farce. It's called you have to actually be telling the truth. So they said, shoot, that's hard to reproduce, isn't it, Professor? Yes, that's quite difficult to reproduce. How will we do that? We have to analyze it more further. $2 million more we must allocate for this project. I mean, these guys are idiots. Yep. Anyways, folks, if you have not seen it, you have to see, does God exist? Because at a time where America is now the champion again, we're now going to lead this revolution to punish the archangels worldwide. Trump has to keep his Abel-type promises. He's got to he's not him personally. The people he puts in place, the system has to go and punish those who have broken the law, both Republican and Democrat. He's got to go after them by the process of the law, the full weight of the law. Justice. Bring back justice to the states. And this revolution is spreading. Now, all that is happening because we've become the champion. Because God's side has won this epic battle. But again, the fall of the champions is arrogance. Is they don't train hard and enough for the next fighter that's coming along to fight them. They train their booty up to get to the top, And they were scared of their opponents all the way up, but now they're at the top. They're like, oh, now then the opponents come, oh, I'm the champion. I'm going to beat him. Oh, you're going to lose. You got to train for him and not think about the belt and the championship. You got to train for that person coming up to get you as your greatest opponent. Doesn't that make sense? Right? So America now is in that stage. Will they pursue narcissistic Americana and Americanism? Or will they go back to the true Americanism, which is what? God-centered rights. God-centered families. God-centered sovereignty. That's what this country was built on. Or will they go back to the materialistic American dream? Or the materialistic this or that? The external benefits of the internal connection with God. You see what I'm saying? So more than any other time, now that the threat of World War III has left us, at least by 90%, although Turkey has waged war on Syria publicly, which brings NATO into the picture with Russia, legally in a war. So they're still trying to start World War III, but it's much harder because the U.S. presidency will not go along with it. The U.S. people will not go along with it. So it's much harder to start World War III. So God bless this incredible scenario that God has graced us with. In the midst, folks, however, it is more critical than ever to build our relationship with God. It's critical. Because look, what happened with Joshua and Caleb? When they won the war, they beat all those kings, got the 31 kings beheaded, and got into the land of Canaan, Jericho. What happened? They became secular. Yep. They became hedonistic. And the kingdom collapsed. They said, hey, we're in a land of milk and honey. Let's drink this milk. Let's eat that honey all day long, baby. And they all perished. This is a problem. This is a problem. When you become the champion, you got to train harder than ever. That makes sense? Yes. All you kids who train with me, MMA and jiu-jitsu, you know what that means, right? It's like when you become champion, you got to more diligent than ever, more vigilant than ever. So getting back to God, why is it so important that we have discernment? Why is it so important that we have a foundation in God? Let's go to number 9. Let's go to number 9. I wanted to show you 9 and 10 today, but I want you to see number 9 on ethics and morality. This is so critical for a God-centered nation, for a God-centered polity, for a God-centered world. Let's go to number 9, ethics and morality, part 1. Okay? See, this is the big task. SOS, you can come up and start preparing. This is the big task, folks. As prosperity returns back to America, will America go into just secular, materialistic Americana? That's what almost got us killed. That's what almost lost us republic. We lost our core of Godism. We lost our core connection, relationship with God, and we slowly got infiltrated with evolutionary theory and materialism, Marxism, etc. Just getting worse, worse, worse. That's how we almost lost it. Now that the prosperity comes back, we'll be, woo, let's just go shopping and play. Or will we seek deeper relationship with God? I'm not saying don't do no shopping, go play. Go shop, girls, go do your thing. But don't forget, it's about the relationship with God. You know what I mean? As the prosperity comes back, as the safety comes back, will we be a peoples that is seeking Godism? Will we be a peoples that is seeking God's gifts to humanity? Not only secular material prosperity, because we've seen how that has collapsed. It's now more than ever the time, folks, to get into deeper relationship with God. Not only about with feelings, but also in knowing Him, understanding Him, learning about Him through His Word, and coming to a deeper, deeper relationship with Him. Amen? All right, folks, let's all rise. And as we sing praises to God, let's give Him all the praise, glory. Let's seek Him.